did it. It's actually been a full year. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special episode 47 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tabuada. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to us. Unbelievable. 1 year of this podcast, and it's been such a fun ride. I mean, I didn't think it would last this long, but here we are now, and of course, thank you to all you guys who have supported in some shape or form along the way, or even just said, just cool that you're doing this. I mean, it's just great. I didn't think it would last this long, but I guess it's like one of those hidden blessings in the middle of the pandemic. But seriously, thank you all, and I'm just stunned. I'm just very happy to make it to a year. It's unbelievable. But of course, the show does go on, and we do acknowledge the podcast's birthday. But we did have a topic, and today's topic is WrestleMania main events, because WWE released a top 10 list of their best WrestleMania main event matches of all time, and I was very triggered with the list, and I'm like, I need to talk about this with RJ, who is on the show, and Pete Atkinson. But Pete was late midway through, and I'm going to go into further detail in the discussion, but it's pretty funny what happened. So that's all for now. Let's get right to it. All I can say is just sit back, relax, and enjoy a year of madness, Mania's best main event. Hey everybody, welcome to the discussion. Just RJ on this anniversary special. 1 year. 1 year. Obviously, RJ, just before we go any further, obviously I do want to say thanks for just being a part of this throughout the year. I hope you had just as much fun as I had, but it's been absolutely incredible. Somehow we lasted a year. We didn't even do that with with our thing in college in 2017. So we did good.
We done good.
I think we did good.
And I was on the debut episode too, wasn't I?
You were. Well, no, I mean, yeah, like I would say the debut episode was me back on March 20th, 2020. So tomorrow, given this is released on Friday, but then episode 2, which featured you and good old David Morisuti. So correct. Which what was the topic on that? That topic, I have it here. That topic was something WrestleMania related. I know it was something the announcement of the WWE going to the Performance Center. Yeah, and then the next episode right after episode 3 was WrestleMania. So we quickly bounced right into that. But yeah, 1 year of crazy hilarity, crazy year of flipping for predictions or weird food things from Wolf. I don't know, but obviously unfortunately, again, couldn't be here. I know they would have loved to be here as well. I know I did ask them all. They were all unfortunately busy, but I'm sure we can celebrate another time. But yeah, we made it.
Hey, we can have some good times of our own here today.
Exactly, which we've done. We've always done since we first met. That's how far back we go. We always do that. But aside from reminiscing some of our going back on the podcast. I mean, I figured we weren't going to go too in depth with our past, because I did have the Christmas episode the last episode of 2020, which featured all so crazy hilarity, which of course you can see on the top right link if I can't point, so you can look at all that in the past. So today we're going to strictly focus on one of my favorite topics, which of course is WrestleMania. We're getting closer and closer. 22 days, I believe, from today. I believe it's 22 days. I'm pretty sure. And so what we're going to discuss is there was a list. I already didn't see the video, but I was talking about it in my group chat, and there was a list that WWE released. The top 10 WrestleMania main events of all time. 36 years of WrestleMania main events to go through. There's been a lot. There's been some good. There's been some amazing. There's been some absolute atrociousness. Is that even a word? So
I think so.
I don't know. I'm not. This is why this is why we do what we do. But RJ doesn't know this list. I snapped as somebody who's such an enthusiast towards WrestleMania, as somebody who treats this event bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the World Series. I was so upset with this list. I'm like, either WWE is really the WWE just did this just so they can trigger people on social media and get the attention, or they genuinely think that this is the top 10 WrestleMania main events of all time. So what we're gonna do is, if you haven't seen the video, I'm gonna list the 10 main events, get RJ's reaction because he's never seen it, And then we're going to discuss what should be taken out, what can we include, what can be replaced and whatnot. And I've seen all WrestleMania main events. RJ's only missed probably 2 or 3 that we're probably not even really going to include. But here's the list. So get ready for this. From number 10 to number 1. Here we go. Number 10.
Okay.
WrestleMania 19, Lesnar versus Angle for the WWE title at Safeco Field. Number 9, WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, The Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan, title for title, Intercontinental and WWE Championship, Warrior with the IC title, Hogan with the WWE title. At number 8, WrestleMania 30 in the Superdome in New Orleans, Batista versus Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan, which was the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which of course were the 2 titles that were unified at the time. Number 7, WrestleMania 31 in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship, which of course ended with Seth Rollins cashing in his Money in the Bank. At number 6, WrestleMania 15. The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWE title. WrestleMania 15, and I emphasize 15 on that. At number 5, which is what I saw in person, WrestleMania 35, Charlotte versus Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship. Okay. At number 4, WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the first ever Iron Man televised Iron Man match for the WWE title, which HBK came out victorious and the boyhood dream came true. At number 3, WrestleMania 26, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, career versus the streak, in which HBK rode off into the sunset. At number 2, WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, where the immovable object meant the
irresistible force
is taking on the immovable object. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I knew it was for WWE Championship. And number 1, which isn't for a WWE title, which is for no title, WrestleMania 28. The Rock.
Really? They did do that, eh?
And John Cena.
Okay, that's funny.
At number 1.
It's really funny. Okay, you weren't really like, I wasn't getting too many like out of myself up until number 1. And now it's just like, okay, well,
so
bullshit. Nobody really gives it. Nobody really like, okay.
So what's
completely loses all cred.
What's your initial thoughts of the top 10?
Again, like 10 to 2, I was like, okay, nothing like incredibly egregious here. And then number 1 comes up and it's like, okay, well, like, may as well discard the entire list because we now just know that this is just nonsense, I'll say.
No, I mean, yeah, we may as well start with the disagreements of the list. I mean, I will say Rock and Cena isn't that bad of a match. If anything, it was better than what it should have been that night.
It was fine
in Miami. You know, there was a lot of they went back and forth. I think it's better than Rock Cena 2 for the following year at MetLife. But like I said, like the match was better than it had. Like it was better than it should have been. Is that the right thing I want to say here? It had no business being that good. I think that's where I want to go. It had no business being that good. I was surprised. I remember sitting in a different chair at this desk, looking at my laptop or whatever, and I was jumping up and down because I can't believe they put the win on the Rock, because I was ready for Cena to win. I was ready for Cena to win because it was similar to Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 18. But I mean, again, for what it was, I thought it was good. I think the one thing that bugs me the most is just the positioning of some of these main events. Like 30 and 31, 30 at 8 and 31 at 7. To me, it's I just think there's no way that you put the Iron Man match, Hogan and Andre, the women's triple threat over those matches. You just don't. I don't know. Like I just like 30 was so impactful. It was crazy all around, and Daniel Bryan gets that big moment, and then obviously Seth Rollins with the heist of the century, right? Like that's why I'm saying, like, why would you rank it that low? And as somebody that, again, like I said, like, I mean, everybody knows I was at WrestleMania 35 with that women's triple threat. And like, I mean, it was historic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, mind you, by that time, that night, I was already dead. I hate to say that I was so exhausted from the crazy day that we were living. And it's like that when the finish came in, we're like, oh, what just happened? And that's the thing too. It was like somewhat of a botched finish. We're like, oh, okay, good night, guys. Boom, cue the pyro and call it a night. It's unfortunate because I think that should have been definitely one of the better matches of the night. But I think it's just everybody's just so burnt out, and unfortunately, like crowd reaction goes into a main event, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, what else? What else? Like, any other thoughts when it comes to those kind of things?
Yeah, so on the triple threat match, I think that was one that kind of I understand why they put it in there, but as you said, it was historic. That's really all it was. It's just historic. The match quality itself was just fine, in my opinion. And like you said, we're burnt out. Like I pretty much fell asleep during this match, and I don't want to say that's because it was a bad match, but it was what was just like 5 hours, and then like a 2 hour pre-show, 3 hour pre-show. You were probably there for like 10 hours, and I know you've discussed your WrestleMania experience on the show before. But like,
Not as much as I'd want to, but yeah, I mean, my day started off as what day? Like I woke up probably 10 in the morning, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, because I knew it was going to be a huge day. And, we went for breakfast. And then we started to make our way down towards MetLife, towards New Jersey. That was a completely different state. I got to MetLife at probably 2, 3 in the afternoon, I think. Excuse me. 2 excuse me. Oh Christ. 2 to 3. Sorry, 2 to 3 in the afternoon. I got to MetLife. I'd say around there, 2 to 3, because I mean I was stubborn. I'm like I want to get there as fast as I can, and
for sure.
because I just wanted to see everything. I mean I wanted to just do the entire pre-show. I wanted you to sit there and just just kind of like let it sink in that I was at a WrestleMania. But I'd say 2 to 3 afternoon. Then we didn't leave MetLife until 2 or 3 in the morning because of the amount of people that are trying to leave, right? So it so that is like okay, whatever. But no, we were definitely beat up. We were all pumped up at the start of the pre-show, and then the open, then 7 o'clock, and then that all starts. But then 5 hours later, and that went to like about 12:30 before the night, and it was already like technically it was a 2-night WrestleMania.
Oh yeah. And that reason is why I kind of like how they're doing it split up nowadays. I don't know if this is something that's going to continue, but 10 hours of wrestling, like you can split that up into two. Even 5 hour show is a lot. Like they're splitting it up.
Was heavy.
Like both of these events coming up at WrestleMania are probably gonna be like 3 or 4 hours each night, probably, right? So I mean, they got a lot of content. So 2 nights is great because I think that specific triple threat main event definitely suffered from just how long it took to get there.
Yeah. It was there was some, and I mean this may come across a little bit controversial, but I think one of the bigger things that people want is just to go back to how WrestleMania used to be, in a sense that not everybody has to be on the show, which is harsh. It's because I'm sure that if you're a wrestling talent, and your dream was to work in WWE, once you make it to WWE, more likely than not, one of your next biggest dreams, aside from becoming champion, is to be on WrestleMania, to get on the card at WrestleMania, because of how big this event is for WWE. I know some people still bash WWE, and understandable, but this is still your pinnacle event. And
you get the big paycheck that comes with it too, and you get it when you're on WrestleMania as well.
That as well. I mean, I feel like I would be one of those guys that doesn't care about the money. I'd probably be that guy just excited to walk down the ramp, but that's also me not really.
Yeah, like, you say that until you're a wrestler in WWE and you see these 6-figure bonus for being on the WrestleMania card, and you do notice that.
Here's your paycheck. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Oh my god, I need to be back here.
And it does feel like they sometimes a lot of these matches at WrestleMania are like triple threat, fatal 4-way, battle royals, just so they can squeeze all these people onto the card so they can get onto it, which is nice, but it makes it so long.
Right, which is I mean, like, look, for example, look at WrestleMania 6, for example. All right, there was about 12 to 14 matches. It was a big card, but that show lasted 3 hours. All those matches didn't go as far, and it's I would put WrestleMania 6 in my top 10 of all time. That's just me, personally, because it was just quick. It got to the point. There was some great moments. The pace was fine. It worked out well. And then he had the near half hour for Hogan Warrior. So, but just to kind of come back to what we were discussing about the main events. Yeah, and you're right. I think it absolutely burned, and it's unfortunate that there were now with of course obviously we know what's going on in the world with COVID and people starting to get vaccinated, thank goodness, and so forth. And now you have like stuff like UFC who want to have a full out crowd in a month or two, right? And of course, WrestleMania's tickets go on sale today at the day of the release on Friday. And there are rumors that they're gonna want 45,000, but some people are saying maybe they're gonna want to push it.
Mhm.
In saying that, they're hoping that WrestleMania's was 38 and 39 Dallas, Los Angeles goes back to the one night, which would suck because I mean it's I can't say it sucks because it's such a different experience when you're there, and I'm sure that if I were to go to Dallas next year, I know there's a strong chance we'll go to Los Angeles in 2023, but it's so different when you're there, right? Because you're experiencing everything, but just in hindsight, right? Even as a viewer at home, you're like, holy crap. So I guess this year we just have to enjoy the 2 nights that we get.
So, do you get 2 main events with 2 nights? So, say we do this event, or we do this sort of rundown of a list 10 years again in the future. Does this upcoming WrestleMania count as 2 WrestleMania main events? And this last year, was there 2 WrestleMania main events? Like, does the AJ versus Taker match, which main evented WrestleMania Night 1, belong potentially on a top 10 WrestleMania main event list? Because Drew versus Big Show, but Drew versus Brock was the main event of Night 2.
Was night 2.
I think AJ versus Taker was one of the best matches they've done in a long time, and would maybe belong on a top 10 match. But did it truly main event?
It's weird to say. I mean, look at Wrestle Kingdom, for example. They've been doing the 2 night now for the last 2 years. They've stated the main event of night 1 and the main event of night 2. I think
that's what WWE wants as well. But it's tough to really, for me personally, think of anything but the Drew match as the main event, because the main event was the second night. But the first night of WrestleMania was better. So I mean, it's tough to say. I think that for the sake of this list, you kind of have to call it a main event. It's just tough for me to really consider it the true main event of.
That's where I'm leaning towards. I don't know. Like, to me, main event is
main event
is the
There's only one.
It's
you can have co-main events, I guess, but you just
it's
someone's got to go on last.
Yeah, exactly. It's whatever goes on last for the show. All right, this technically you're calling this WrestleMania Part 1, Part 2, WrestleMania 37
That's
Part
true.
1, Part 2, right?
Sure.
That's one. And the example that I look to that I think that should be presented, or I guess the argument that should be presented when you ask that question, is WrestleMania 19, because they were promoting the last 4 matches as the quadruple main event for WrestleMania 19. Triple H and Booker for the World Heavyweight title. McMahon Hogan in a street fight, which is hilarious. Rock Austin 3, and then Lesnar Angle for the WWE title. All of them were billed, if I'm not mistaken, WrestleMania 19. All of 4 of those matches were billed as main events. Okay, it's the first of our 4 main events, the second, the third, and here's the last main event. Lesnar and Angle is the true main event. It is the last one going on that night. Credit to Rock and Austin, and Hogan, who had really good matches. Credit to Triple H after he screwed over Booker T, but
less so on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but the true main event of the night, the main event that people remember from that pay-per-view, is the last match.
Is the last match as the main event? I mean, I would argue that Rock Austin was more memorable than Lesnar Angle, but
for sure. That's not necessarily what I meant, but it is remembered that match did not main event that show.
No,
it's like thinking of WrestleMania in Toronto when Rock and Hogan did main event that show, but it may as well have.
It should have.
It should have, but the main event of that show was a mediocre Triple H and Jericho match.
Which again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about WrestleMania 35. That unfortunately, just the crowd reaction goes into the rating of a main event. I think when it comes to WWE, that Toronto crowd was dead. They were
Oh, they
done.
never had a chance.
They saw what I mean. I felt bad for the women after everybody kind of forgets that there was a triple threat for the women's championship, Lita, Trish, and Jazz. That's forgotten because again, I felt bad for the women. The timing after was just horrendous. And then, anyways, but yeah, no, and I think the other thing too is that, like, technically the main event is the match that you want people to wait and see, right? I mean, in WrestleMania 33 case, it obviously was in Roman Taker. Hell no. But like, for example, going into this WrestleMania, the match that I want to see on last and the match that I want to see the most, it's Edge and Roman. And I think, in my opinion, you put that on night 2, and then you call that the next main event. And that's the thing too, right? I mean, like, let's say let's say that Bianca and Sasha main event night 1. Because of how big that match is, all of a sudden you just not say it's not a main event? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It's a great question you brought up. It's a really, really good question.
I think they want to consider both nights to be main event.
There
I think
probably
that's the
will.
idea, because I believe AJ's even mentioned in the past that main event. Like, I think it's been alluded to on the programming that it was a main event.
Really,
I think so, if I'm not recalling incorrectly, which is totally possible. But I think it's alluded to as there being two different main events, because it is night 1. This is the main event of this evening. Tomorrow, this is the main event of this evening. What if they do like WrestleMania night 1 is Raw and WrestleMania night 2 is SmackDown? You have like a Raw main event, you have a SmackDown main event. I don't know. Maybe they can do that.
It's funny you bring that up, because in the past, when the brand split was a thing in the early 2000s, it's time for our Raw main event. It's time for our SmackDown main event. But Batista, Triple H for the Raw main event. JBL, John Cena for the SmackDown main event, right? But I mean, they don't consider it like as the like, for example, Cena JBL, it was a SmackDown main event.
Yeah,
it's not the WrestleMania main event.
Yeah,
two very different things.
Then you go a few years again into the future, and there's like, they have the World Heavyweight Championship, they have the WWE Championship. Yeah, they're both being defended on the same show. But Cena was always the main event. So they show that the main event is what goes on last, no matter how they bill it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I would say that I think that because it is two separate nights, technically two separate shows, I think that we should technically. I think I'm kind of talking myself into event, even though I went into this as saying the other. I feel talking into it just because I kind of want to put AJ on my list when we get to
it. I feel like we're going to moving forward because I mean, let's face it. I mean, like, the definition of a main event is what goes on last in a show.
Yes.
Right. And this is going to be labeled. It's unofficially labeled as part 1, part 2, which is why it's like, I feel like they're going to start, which is going to drive me nuts, because then the math won't add up, and then I'm just going to go crazy. But they probably will. But I mean, I feel like at the same time I will be saying that the last match, the last match of WrestleMania 37, that is going to be my main event, because that is what
closes the whole.
That's what closes
event.
Everything. It closes everything. Which, again, I hope it's Edge. I hope he wins the title. Anybody that says Daniel Bryan can get out.
What about Jey Uso? Sorry, this is completely different. Completely different talk. We can get back to the list.
there was one more point I wanted to bring up the list before we bring up matches that we want to replace, and that's WrestleMania 15 of Rock Austin, as if like they forgot that they kind of had a bigger match 2 years later in Houston.
I'm a little confused at the placement. I have the placement. I'm okay with this match being in the top 10. It's just number 17 has to be on it too.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I mean, this list is blasphemous already. So, I mean, I get it. Maybe they're just they just wanted DS clicked and people to do reaction videos on it like we are right now. That's probably all they were going for.
Nah, we got worked.
Good effing job, Vince. Like, yeah, you did it. You did it well, because we've already gone on for 23 minutes and we haven't even gone into who we want to put in our list yet. And I think it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is a really good match, and it belongs in this top 10. But where's WrestleMania 17?
I don't. It's funny. I don't remember. I mean, I enjoyed WrestleMania 15. I remember enjoying that match, but I don't remember enjoying it as much as 17 or 19, for that matter, in the
Yeah,
sense of in the trilogy sense. I mean, I will say that I'm one of the rare few that thinks that WrestleMania 19 is the better match of the three, but that is a conversation for another day, because I did get scolded in the past for it. But WrestleMania 19 didn't main event, so if you had to pick between 15 and 17, you obviously put in 17, no doubt about it. Absolutely throw it. I was just surprised. I'm like, that's weird, but and then sorry, you got a point?
no,
Or you want to-
I'm just
okay.
agreeing with you. I don't understand why it's there, and 17
And
isn't.
then yeah, and then I mean 17 is obviously one of the best WrestleManias, one of the best WrestleMania of all time. And then in terms of the top 5, 35, 12, 26, 3, and 28, the only one I would keep in the top 5 is 26.
So I run through the top 5 again. So number 1
30
was Cena and
Number
Rock.
1 was 28.
Yeah.
Number 2 was WrestleMania 3. 3 was
Okay.
WrestleMania 26.
26.
4 was WrestleMania 12, and then 5 was WrestleMania 35.
WrestleMania 12. That was
The Iron Man match.
the Iron Man match. Yeah. Yeah, I don't need that to be in the top 5 either. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think the Daniel Bryan match is insanely low, but you've already touched on it.
Oh yeah, no.
That's like in my top 3 ever.
31, 36 are too low for me. 26 is the only one I would keep. Like I said, 26 is the only one that would keep in the top 5.
Yeah.
Where it would go in the top 5, I don't know. I think I would keep it at 4 or 3. I think it stays at 3. I think it does.
I think it stays at 3. Well, what's your number 1? I mean, we can get to that towards the end, or whenever you want it. Whenever you want it.
Definitely, but
yeah,
I think 30, 31, 30 is ranked low. 19 would be that one that I would maybe chuck out of the top 10. I think again, it's 30. We're looking at 36 main events or 37 main events if you include night 1.
So you have more than a couple that you want to move into the top 10.
Oh yeah. Probably 2 or 3 that I would throw in there. Well, okay. How about this? Right now, why don't we eliminate? Like, because at this point, there's no point. We're gonna go crazy if we try to rank them right now. Yeah. Out of the 10 that were listed, why don't we take out the ones that we would definitely take out?
Okay.
See where we could argue there, and then we figure out the ones to replace. I will start. Hold on a minute.
We may have a late entry.
But we do have a late entry, and I'm going to explain this one very closely. Hi, Pete.
Hello.
So before we go any further, first of all, thanks for joining.
I'm sorting out everything.
Here's what happened. We set a time for our podcast, and I said, Pete, I said, hey, 1 o'clock my time. Pete told me yesterday, 1 o'clock your time. Sweet.
Yeah. Perfect.
So 20 minutes later, as we signed in, where the hell is Pete? I don't know. Where the hell is Pete? And so he got confused at the time. Welcome, buddy. You're just about to enter the juiciest part of the pod.
It's actually a really good time to come in because we're like written a little like transition to like making a list now. But I was actually going to say, is it the daylight savings time that totally screwed you? Yeah, I had a feeling. So he thinks he's 10 minutes early.
Yeah, I thought, like, when I saw Jose's message, I was like, oh, shit. Panic. Yeah, so normally, for anyone who doesn't realize, the US or Jose is usually 5 hours behind me. And then there's randomly about a 2-week point in the year where the US changes their hours slightly before the UK does. So at the moment, it's only 4 hours. And that completely messed everything up. So I was calling my parents and didn't see any Jose's messages. Instead of being 10 minutes early like I thought I was, I'm 50 minutes late.
It's all good. I'm just gonna recap you really quickly. And actually, I do want your opinion. I do want your opinion on one before we transition to, because I think what RJ asked earlier is really important. RJ was asking that when it comes to the word main event for WrestleMania, now that we have 2 split nights, do you consider night 1, the last match on night 1, a WrestleMania main event? Or do you include the last match of night 2, which wraps up the entire show, as the true main event, and exclude what closed night one?
I would still say night 2 is the main event, but I would also still consider night 1 as a. Do you know, like the secondary main event when you have like other big shows where there's, I can't remember what they usually call it, but there's
It's like
the
the co-main event.
the core main event in a
Yeah.
way, yeah, but it's not the real main event.
Yeah.
Would be my opinion.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of where like RJ and I were kind of in the middle of that with those thoughts, but okay, I don't know why my watch tracked this as a step. But okay, that makes sense. And then like just to recap you before we were just talking about the how the crowd can affect the main event, which is why we thought 35 was very weak. And then we also spoke about, what else did we speak about? RJ?
We spoke about why it is WrestleMania 15 Rock Austin and not WrestleMania 17 Austin that is on this list. And do you agree or disagree with 15 being better than 17?
No, that's an absolute disgrace. So, there is no chance in hell that 17 is not the best Rock versus Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling RJ that I'm in the minority when I say that I think
19 is worse as well.
Oh, for crying out loud! Okay,
19 is the third best match on that show. It's not even in the Lesnar angle is better, and sorry, not Lesnar angle. Lesnar angle.
Lesnar angle, yeah.
Jericho Michaels are both better than.
I'll respect that. I'll respect that.
Oh yeah, Jericho Michaels is really good. Yeah,
it's. I mean, HBK just alone has just an incredible entrance. All right, so Pete, you know the top 10. You remember the top 10, right?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I remember.
Okay, I'm gonna go through this one more time. Just gonna go through this one more time in case people tuned out. So number 10, WrestleMania 19, Lesnar Angle. 9, WrestleMania 6, Warrior Hogan. 8, WrestleMania 30, the Triple Threat with the Daniel Bryan. WrestleMania number 7, WrestleMania 31, Lesnar Roman Rollins Cash-In. Number 6, WrestleMania 15, Rock Austin. Number 5, WrestleMania 35, the Women's Triple Threat. Number 4, WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match. Number 3, WrestleMania 26, Taker Shawn. Number 2, WrestleMania 3, Hogan Andre, and then WrestleMania 1. Number 1, WrestleMania 28, Rock Cena.
Yeah, that's mad list.
Yeah.
So I could actually say I have done my own rankings of WrestleMania main events before, and in fairness, most of those are pretty high.
Yeah, I would include most of those in the top 10. RJ would as well. So what we were going to do is we were going to, I guess, debate which ones we would take out. Which ones we would take out and then eventually replace. Because, we have a few that, we didn't announce which ones we would replace. And we were just about to before you popped in. And then we're gonna take out some of the ones that we think is like that we don't think belongs in the top 10. And then we can replace them. And I was gonna go first. So that's where I had my hand raised. And the new came in. So I say that the first main event that I want to take out is WrestleMania 3.
Hell yeah.
WrestleMania 3.
Without a doubt.
We're in unison of taking out WrestleMania 3?
It's just like a spectacle more than anything. It doesn't need to be there.
Good riddance. I have somebody
just to quickly say, do either of you know anything or remember any part of that match other than the slam?
No.
Not really, no.
No.
Of course not.
I just assumed there wasn't a whole lot else.
It's a terrible match. It's a really bad match. There is a point where he tries to pile drive him on the outside, which is quite interesting as well. But if you take that out of it, it's rubbish. It's really not a good wrestling match. Like I said, I did my own list, and I think I had it actually I might pull it up. It was either 29th or 30th out of the 36 WrestleMania.
May I show you guys a YouTube comment that I just finished making just right now? It's really really quick, but and don't mind me because I just happen to have the the Under the Middle Rope YouTube page open because they're trying to figure out what the when we did our first episode. I said on that YouTube video, I said overrated main event, great moment of the slam, which isn't even for our grammar, great moment of the slam, but this isn't one of the best main event matches of all time. Some guy named Mateo said wrestling is about iconic moments like this. I said absolutely. Not denying, I'm talking about it from a wrestling standpoint, like the actual physical work. If you take that slam out, is the match good to begin with? Definitely not. And then I don't know where this comes in. He says the card included Savage versus Steamboat, but people paid to see two large-in-life characters colliding. Congratulations, Sunshine. I said, why am I downvoting myself? I said, I said, I'm aware it included Savage and Steamboat, and nobody expected that to steal the night. I don't think so in 87. Not that I'm aware of. Regardless, just because people went to go see a larger than life characters colliding doesn't mean it was good. And subscribe to us here on YouTube. It like that, and again, Pete said what I was like, what I had in mind is like take the slam out. It's bear hugs. It's a bear hug match. So okay, we're all
Sounds like a
great
Hogan match.
storyline. It's a great storyline. It's a great moment. It's a bad match. And it's a good payoff. I'm not denying the payoff is right. The crowd goes nuts. There's no issues there. But the match is still terrible if you watch it back without thinking of it in the grand scheme of things. And that's where you kind of look at it in the list.
If I had to make a list of top 10 WrestleMania moments, I may put this at 1. I may put the slam at 1 because WrestleMania it's bold to say for somebody who hates the match. But in terms of moments and iconic moments, that slam was so big in 87 on its third WrestleMania that it probably set the way for WWF to continue business and whatnot. It was just engraved in a lot of people's minds. And I do agree with some people that are saying that this helped define what WrestleMania is. And that lit for this moment. I think it's one of the more original WrestleMania moments, if not the original WrestleMania moment, because WrestleManias 1 and 2 they had big moments. Actually, not 2. What am I saying? WrestleMania 1 had its big moments, but nothing was as big as that slam. I'm gonna agree with that. But if you're telling me that that's a top 10 wrestling main event, get the fuck out of here. All right, let's go around. What else would you guys want to take out, RJ?
We've already touched on it. It's a little harsh, but I think you got to take it with the women's triple threat. It's a great moment. We've discussed that already. I'm very happy that this match got the main event, but we were burnt out towards the end. And overall, I just don't really like this match that much. I think the triple threat women's match from a year or two before with was much better.
Charlotte, Becky, Sasha.
Yeah, I thought that was significantly better. And if that was a main event that night, then that probably would have had a chance to make this list. But I just don't think this match belongs there. And I know it's a little unfair to say that because we were probably burnt out towards the end of it and I was half falling asleep because it was a 10-hour show. But I got to take it
out. Pete, is there any other ones that you want to take out?
Well, just to cut an address in there, I agree, but I think this match is hurt by, like you said, being exhausted. I think the match is fine, but then there's just a couple of awkward moments that really bring it down. So the table spot didn't work properly. And then the finish as well. The finish of the match. Everybody was waiting for Ronda to tap out to Becky or Charlotte, even Charlotte to tap out to Becky, but Becky to get that decisive win. And instead you got like a weird botched crucifix bomb roll up.
And I mean, Ronda's shoulders were up, and again, like I was sitting in my seat. I wasn't standing. I mean, I stood up for the entrances, but then I sat back down. So I mean, Wolf and I were just sitting. All of a sudden, the bell rang, and we're like, "Oh shit!" And then we all got up, and we're like, "What just happened?" And then we looked at the replay, and we're like, "Oh shit!"
Well, no one expected that spot to be the finish, which just hurt this match so much. And the match is fine. Like it was very. Again, I actually found my list now. I did 20th. In this thing, so I haven't got it in like good or bad in terms of WrestleMania main events, but no, it shouldn't be on this list.
Man, as one of the biggest fans of the pay-per-view itself, I didn't even rank the main events on my own. Well done. I think we're all in agreement when we say we want to take out WrestleMania 15 from the top 10.
Just to swap it for 17.
Probably, yeah. All in favor on that one, yeah. All right.
I think it could still, have a place at the bottom of this list.
I have it 13th.
I think
I have it 13th, so it's close.
I think you could definitely make the case for both of these matches to belong. I'm fine with taking it out for the time being, considering
a question mark beside it.
But I think it might serve a place. Like Pete said, it's 13th for him. I think it served a place in that like 10 to like 15 spot. But 17 is better, so swap it out for 17.
Just to be that guy, but technically one of these lists doesn't make my top 10 because it's 11th. So,
which is
Shawn versus Brett. And I know it's a controversial one because it's one of those matches. I think I'm in the minority where I think it's good, but most people seem to either absolutely love it or really don't like it. So I'm being the very minority that thinks it's good, but not amazing.
I'm in between the minority and the majority because I think people need, and I said this when I was reviewing each WrestleMania a couple of years ago and I was writing it out. What I said was, I don't think people are taking in that 60 minutes is a lot of ground to cover because you have to pace it out and you have to time your spots very, very carefully. Like if you have, and like, I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, just people wanting to find something exciting. It's a matter of like, do they have the cardio for it? Because if you were expecting 60 straight nonstop minutes and spot after spot after spot after 60 minutes, they're dead by probably minute 25, minute 30.
I don't think it's the match that hurts this. I think it's the 0-0.
You think?
This.
The fact that it ended in a draw?
Not in the fact it ends in a draw. The fact it's 0-0 at the end. There's no falls in it. There's nothing. It's kind of like when you compare it to what I think is probably the best SmackDown match of all time, which is Lesnar versus Angle in the Iron Man match, which I believe finished like 5-4 in the 60-minute Iron Man match.
Mm-hmm.
When I compare it to that match, I absolutely think is phenomenally good because there is those falls, and to have 60 minutes in a match and think neither can pin, I think hurts and helps it. So it makes it iconic and being that Iron Man match that no one got a pin in. But the idea of an Iron Man match, in my opinion, is to have multiple falls.
I 100% agree with that. Like you think these two, you know, world class superstars, they wrestle matches that are not 60 minutes and they get pinfalls on people. So you feel like the longer the match, these guys should. I know they don't get pinned often, but you know, against each other, they should be able to pick up more than one pinfall or two. So I do understand where Pete's coming from. That I think Iron Man matches need at least one or two pinfalls each to kind of keep the pace going.
It also nullifies the entire stipulation. Like this just could have been a 62-minute match.
Yeah,
like, it didn't need the stipulation of being an Iron Man match if they were going to do that.
Yeah. That's true.
Whereas you could have at least finished 1-1. Like even then, at least then you go, well, okay, makes sense. One got a pin, then one got one towards the end.
I will say there was excitement at the end when Hart had the sharpshooter on to close the 60 minutes. Where you're like, is he gonna tap? Like there's 10 seconds left. I'll give it that there was excitement, and then just crap. I mean, he held on, but shit.
Like I said, I still had it 11th. I don't have it like down the list. I'm just
no. Yeah,
I'm saying it's a controversial one.
Yeah.
But with that, you're sitting through 58 minutes of nothing.
Exactly.
To get a will he, won't he tap at the end where he ends up not tapping.
Exactly.
It's a lot of like watching 58 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's not like watching 58 minutes of nothing. Like I think the match is still fine, but I kind of agree with what he's saying where it just needs a little more. Like get somebody to get a pinfall at like 30 minutes and then another one at like 49 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes is like, all right, 1-1, 10 minutes, and then the sharpshooter, and then you can get the eye. I think we're all the same.
No, I think we definitely are. And the last match I would take out of the top 10 is probably the number 1 pick, WrestleMania 28. I mean, I don't keep it at 1 for sure, but I don't think I keep it in the top 10.
I have it at number 10.
Oh, you have it at 10.
Right. I have it right at number 10.
What do you think, RJ?
This match is fine. I think it's fine in that same little like. I think 15 is better though. Like I think the Rock Austin match is better. So it also serves a place at the bottom of this list. I think it could serve a place. So it's another one for me that's in that like 10 to 15 range. But I do think the Rock Austin.
So I'm just
I'm looking at my 10 to 15, and I would say they're very interchangeable. Well, sorry, 10 to 14 anyway. Where I've got Cena, Rock, Shawn, Brett, Hogan, Savage, Rock Austin, and HBK Austin. That's like my 10 to 14 range, and to be honest, any of those could be a number 10 pick, in my opinion.
So we took out 3, technically 4 if you want to replace 15 with 17. So, like I said, we could be here all day ranking, like properly positioning them. But technically, what this means is we have to replace 35, 12, and 3 with 3 other WrestleMania main events that are maybe not on the list. I think the first obvious one, and I know some people may come at me with this, but hello, children. Welcome to history. If you don't know what the word history is, well, then Jesus Christ, get out of school. The first one that I have to include in, and again, it's a no-brainer, but I understand why it's not on the list. WrestleMania 20. Shawn Michaels Triple H,
Yeah.
Chris Benoit. Absolutely. I mean, it's that. I think that goes in my top 3. I think.
Do you,
It's
do you like it better than?
two.
Do you like
You have it
guys
at
like
2.
it better? You guys like it better than the Daniel Bryan one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
without a
my
doubt.
god, that match was that. I mean, for how old was I? I was 10. I was 10. I was 10 when that happened, right? I mean, like, and to see that in like as a kid, you're like, holy crap. I mean, mind you, I was an HBK fan, and I was sad when Benoit got the win, but
I was a big Benoit guy. Like when he won the Royal Rumble, I was like, holy shit, they actually let this guy win the Royal Rumble. Like he's gonna have a chance at the title.
at the
And
age of
then
10.
and then well, yeah, pretty much. And then they add Shawn Michaels to the match to like add that like little seeded doubt. It's like, oh, Benoit's still not gonna win, and then he still taps Triple H in the match. It's a great match.
Yeah,
So, I was a
it's
Benoit guy though. Obviously not anymore. But when I was 10 years old, big Benoit fan. And I was very, very happy. It just sucked looking back on this match now because I was
hurts.
so happy when he won this title. And I was
It's
just like, well, fuck.
not even just like a personal happiness, but just like an overall general happiness among wrestling fans. It just what like the confetti, Benoit's emotions, Eddie coming in and just the hug and the fact that they close Mania with both two genuine best friends holding their respective brand titles in the air, confetti flying. You could not script that any better. It's just such a special moment, and it's gone. It's there, but we have to let it go in that sense. But yes, I like Pete saying that it's number 2. It's in top 3 for me for sure. It's just again like anytime I think about WrestleMania 20, it just crushes my heart. I genuinely say that because of what happened. But oh man, what a night! WrestleMania 20 it's WrestleMania 20 is at my top 5 manias anyways, but it was a night to remember without a shadow of a doubt. What other WrestleMania main events would you guys want to add in?
The big one for me, which is my number 4 overall, assuming Austin versus Rock, we've already swapped those.
Yeah, assuming
So because 2, 3, and 4 on my list were all not included in this list, which
really?
was so 2 was 20 for me, 3 was 17, and then number 4 is 24. And I think it's the most disrespected match maybe in WrestleMania. I absolutely love WrestleMania 24's main event between Undertaker and Edge.
Yeah.
And
this was one of the ones I was gonna recommend.
So like when everyone goes back and thinks of the great Taker matches, they just focus on Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Punk at the end of it. They basically go from 25 because 25 was so good. 26 was incredible, obviously. And then they go 27, 28, end of an era, and Punk was amazing at 29 as well. They always focus on that. But the 2 Manias before that, so Batista at 23 was a fantastic match. And then Edge at 24 is such a good match.
It is.
It's so damn good. And 24 as a Mania overall is a fantastic Mania. I always think it's such an underrated, disrespected Mania.
I think it's definitely underrated. Yeah. No, that's I would put it underrated as well.
So like, no, this is fantastic. Him also winning by submission, the Hell's Gate at the end, I think is a great touch in this as well. And just the idea, they told such a great story of Edge being so prepared for this match. He countered everything in that match. And it was just such a great piece of storytelling. It was the best match on the show, which is always one of the things I look for in the main event. Is it actually the best match on the show? And it definitely 100% was at 24. A lot of the other ones you can potentially argue that are below this on the list. Like, I wouldn't even say DB versus Batista versus Orton was the best match on the show. I would say Triple H versus Daniel Bryan was the best match on the show.
For sure.
So it's one of those things I look for. I've got it like number 4 on my list. So that's one of the ones I would definitely throw in there.
I think what just amazes me is that this is to date, assuming that before we get to Tampa in a few weeks, that this is Edge's only WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's his only main event to date. He had, I mean, again, being the big Edge guy, as I'm wearing my Get Grit shirt today, he hasn't had another one, which I don't know. I'm just a little amazed. I would have thought he would have had maybe
he could have fought Cena at some point.
Yeah, I would have had.
But then again, he got injured.
Yeah, he got injured. I would have thought I just think that he would. I thought he would have had 2 or 3 under his belt, and he only ended up with 1. You know, the guy, one of the one of the more genuine stories of like a kid attending a WrestleMania to now competing at WrestleMania. All of a sudden, it only has one WrestleMania main event. I don't know. It just take me for a whirlwind.
Soon to be 2.
Again, though, there's
It should be 2. It should be.
It's going to be 2.
As we're seeing right now, though, there's only 36 WrestleMania main events. So I mean, even getting to do one is still big. You can't all be Hogan.
Huge.
You can't all be Hulk Hogan who does like 10 in a row. Yeah, exactly. You know they're gonna get their chance at main event or Undertaker.
Reigns. Taker doesn't have that many. Taker's got like he does, but
I guess 2 or
out.
3 now.
Taker
right?
has 3, 4.
You count AJ again? Probably not.
13, 24, 26.
They are the only ones I can think of.
That's it.
Oh no, 33.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then AJ, and then the AJ match. But
so 4.5.
Yeah, I don't count that. Like I said earlier, I don't count that.
RJ, we each said a Mania, and we took out 3. Was there one that was on your mind that you would throw in?
Yeah, WrestleMania 23. I think Pete just mentioned that one as well, right? John Cena versus Shawn Michaels is one that I would like to definitely throw into the hat.
To be honest, that completes my list. I'm just going to say that completes my list as well.
Nice.
The top 10. That was my number 7 on it. So
okay.
RJ, go on. Why would you include Cena?
This is just honestly, this is like peak John Cena, and it is probably my favorite John Cena match ever. This match, it shows like right in the middle of the John Cena can't wrestle era, and he shows that he can go, and he has pretty much since that point forward, as much as he gets annoying on top, has shown that he can really wrestle in these big time matches. And I just think that this was a very perfect showcase where it's like not really a changing of the guard, because you know Shawn Michaels wasn't really, and John Cena was already really like the top guy at this point in time, but it's the veteran versus the top guy, and it's just such a good match. It's a long match, but it's a really good match, and I'm not really usually into the lengthy, towards 40, 50, 60-minute matches, but this one kept my attention the whole time.
Yeah.
It's my favorite top 2 of my favorite John Cena matches ever, and it's just such a well done job by both of you.
I kind of feel like 23 is also like somewhat like 24, not as much as 24 is an underrated WrestleMania.
I would say so. I think it does. I think it sort of gets its fair share of credit more than the Edge versus Undertaker does. But I think just because it's Cena, I don't think it gets the credit that it truly deserves.
I'd also say I don't think Mania 23 is as good down the card. It's got Undertaker versus Batista is fantastic, and then Umaga versus Lashley, make of it what you want to make of it. But
fair.
The rest of that card is weak. I would say I don't think it's the best. You had the Money in the Bank ladder match.
The Money in the Bank. Kane.
Benoit versus MVP, which is all right. Kane versus Khali is obviously dreadful. You had some weird tag match in the middle, I think.
The ECW originals versus the new.
That was the one.
I don't know what the hell they're called.
It was.
Okay, I'll take back my comment on underrated, but I do remember from that WrestleMania, Kane and Khali, that when Kane slammed Khali, that in the closing video package to recap the night was when they went back to back, like Hogan slamming Andre, then they showed Kane to Khali. I'm like, those two are not the same, do not have the same impact in any regard whatsoever.
It's an impressive feat, but like at the same time, no one cared.
I just remember from WrestleMania. I just remember WrestleMania 23, like being in grade 7, and like I asked my dad, I begged my dad if I could order WrestleMania 23 on pay-per-views, like get good marks on your report card, and we'll get it. And I studied my ass off that whole year. I'm like, I want WrestleMania. Give me WrestleMania, and I got it. Had my first WrestleMania viewing party. Had my friends over. And I remember going to bed so angry when HBK lost because I wanted it so bad. I'm like, I wanted one more HBK reign. Like I knew he had it in 02. That should not have been his last. I'm like, for the love of God, can you? And he was like my top guy. He was like my favorite wrestler. I'm like, can you please put it on Shawn? Please, for the love of God. And then Cena got the win, and I'm like, oh, you sons of bitches. I was pissed. So.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. I think there's two things that kind of drag this match down a bit. Like I say, it was number 7 on my list. I love this match, but one is the crowd reaction. It's obviously completely polar opposite to what they wanted. Everybody was on Team HBK in that stadium. And then the second one is that I don't think it's as good as their Raw main event. That was about a month or two later.
Yeah, that's true.
Cena and HBK as well. And I think that Raw main event is the better of the two matches, which is when you look back, you think of Cena HBK. I lean towards that match over this match, despite them both being excellent. I do think that other one is better. So I think that sometimes lowers your opinion of the second match for some reason.
That's actually the same way I feel about Cena and Punk's matches. I think their Raw match is better than their Money in the Bank match, personally. And I don't think a lot of people have that opinion. But I think their Raw match with the pile driver, where they go towards facing The Rock or WrestleMania, I think that match is perfect. So I kind of understand why that dampens your. It doesn't really, because you still have it in your top 10, but it might dampen your opinion of the WrestleMania match because you think the Raw match is better. That's kind of the way I feel about the Money in the Bank match, which is also an amazing match, but I just always thought the Raw one was better. And not that that has anything to do with WrestleMania whatsoever, but I just understand where you're coming from.
So before we close, the one thing I've noticed, and I'm gonna piggyback off Pete here because he's the one that actually has the list. In taking out Rock and Cena from this from the number one spot, we have a vacant number one entry in best WrestleMania main event of all time. So I wanna see what Pete has, and then I think from there we can debate if RJ and I think it's number one, because again, 36 years is a lot to go through. I know some people.
To me, it's not even a question.
Really, I'm actually a bit clueless here for some odd reason. But
I'm guessing you think it's Shawn Michaels and Taker.
Yeah, it's Mania 26.
It's Mania 26. Okay, well,
100% it's Mania.
Cue to confetti. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I can agree with that.
I'm probably in maybe the somewhat minority here. I prefer Mania 26 HBK Taker to Mania 25 HBK Taker as well. And I understand I'm almost 100% in the minority there, and I don't know if it's because it's the second time round that people aren't as keen, and usually when you do it the second time, it's not as good. But I just think the story going in was so good going into this match. It just made me so much more invested in the match. So 25 is obviously a fantastic match, and they over-deliver by a mile. But everyone kind of knew Taker was winning at 25. And there wasn't really that much doubt, in my opinion, when I watched it the first time round. I was like, well, Taker's winning this match. There's not that much on the line. Taker's definitely winning. When it came to 26, and it was Korea versus Streak, and they built this story for so long, like through the Rumble, through Chamber, all this was just HBK. I think it was from the Slammy Awards, wasn't it? They actually started it. As weird as that sounds, I think it was they won Best Match of the previous year at the Slammy Award, and Michaels came out collecting and was like, no, I'm not having this. I want it one more time. To give me it one more time. I want one more chance at it. I'll do everything. And Taker just went, no, not interested. And I just love the building of this so much. And the match had that much going behind it. Then it main events the show as well. And I was thinking, oh my God, they're putting it in the main event. HBK is going to win this. Like, I thought that was it. That's going to be the streak. HBK is going to win this. And I think the match is just as good as the year before, but also has the added better story to it, which is why I rate it above the 25 one. They're both obviously fantastic matches, but for me, 100% is the best Mania main event.
All right.
Can't really disagree with that.
No, I can't.
I really can't.
I can't either, no.
I'm obviously, Chris Benoit one would probably have a little bit more run for its money if the obvious tragedy didn't happen, I think.
Yeah.
Just because the overall moment there is really good. And I think that might be the only one for me that can really rival it, other than unless you really like the Daniel Bryan story. But I think the story is better than the actual main event. And like Pete said, it's not even the best match on the card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can really pick any matches to really rival.
17 is maybe the only other one I would
17 for sure for me, but as Jose said, it's not even his favorite of the three. So
yeah, I think with the story and everything at 17, it's cute. I'm a big guy about the story, which is weird. Why with how much I hate Hogan and Andre. It's probably because I wasn't watching it at the time and only watched it in hindsight. Looking back at it,
yeah, I agree on that point for sure. If I was in that stadium at 10 years old watching Andre get his body slammed, I might just love this match so much more, because another one I want to say is you could maybe, if you were, an older fan who is in their, their prime of their wrestling fanhood when Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior happened,
yeah.
you could give that a big push towards the top two, because my like I was talking to Jose before, my family was at this event because it was in Toronto. So my older brothers were both at this event, and my brother cried when Hogan lost. That's how big this match was and how good of a match this was.
Yeah, I was.
So somebody like him probably thinks that's the greatest main event ever because he was there, he saw it live, and he was such a Hogan fan, and this is such a big event. So I could see it. I wouldn't do it, but I could see it if you're an older fan.
I was telling RJ that my cousin was there as well in Toronto at WrestleMania 6, and he I still laugh every time I say it. I know we already said it once earlier, but it still makes me laugh that he cried on his way out of the Sky Dome that night, and my uncle was like just comforting him as they were taking him home because of how devastated he had his Hulk Cruise t-shirt, and he apparently was just so upset. I gotta ask him real quick about that. I gotta put the salt in the wound again. Oh man, that'd be great. My number one will probably be WrestleMania 20. I think it's just too good to ignore. I think it's just too good to ignore. If I'm using the right words there, that I can't ignore it. I can't ignore how incredible that match was again, and how incredible the night was as well. As for Rock Austin 2 at 17, I can see why you would want to put it on 1 because the event itself was just so good. Again, you could still maybe argue still the best WrestleMania of all time. I know in recent years maybe we have I think in the last 5-6 years we've had a reason to maybe say it's no longer the best WrestleMania of all time. Again, arguable, and that could be a potential podcast episode for another day.
So just to shred WWE's list even more, but one of the points I made was when I'm considering main events, I often go, is it even the best match on the show? And with Taker HBK, it obviously is. With the Benoit triple threat, it obviously is. With their number 1 and 2, Hogan vs. Andre is definitely not the best match on that show. As you mentioned, it's Savage versus Steamboat. So it's 20 times better, it's 100 times better, whatever you want to call it. Then you look at Rock versus Cena. Taker vs. Triple H is 100% the best match on that show in the Hell in a Cell end of an era match.
Yeah,
like. Okay, Austin versus Rock, you could potentially debate TLC 2, is that better or not? But at least it's the best singles match for a start on the show. So just to shred their list even more, that's even Becky, Charlotte, Ronda. When we said that doesn't deserve to be it, that obviously wasn't the best match on the show. It was Daniel Bryan versus Kofi.
Yeah.
So did we keep Cena and Rock towards the bottom of our list? Did we have that as number 10?
I have it at number 10, but.
I guess I would keep it there. Maybe I think again I would have to sit down and take a proper look at this.
But I think we said we'd either take that out or the other Austin versus Rock in that slot. So
that's true. You can have both
Austin Rock if you want.
It's Rock Cena flirts with 10 and 11, I think.
Yeah.
But again, I'd have to sit down and properly rank them all, as Pete did. So.
And to go back to the question I was asking before, because I did want to ask this. If you did count AJ versus Taker's match last year as a main event, does it rival making this list?
No.
Or because it's the cinematic kind of style match, you don't even think you should consider it?
No, it's not even just the cinematic style. I would incorporate that to a certain degree, but I think that would be if I had to give an estimate, probably somewhere between 20 and 15, maybe under 20.
Better question: would you put it above Drew versus Lesnar?
No.
I think I remember it better and enjoyed it more last year.
So I'm just curious because at the moment I have Drew versus Lesnar at my number 15, so I'm genuinely curious if you would say it. I don't think I would, but I think the reason for me on that is it's not even the best cinematic match of the 2 nights. In my
That's
opinion.
true as well. The other cinematic match was really good too.
Yeah, so. I mean, Lesnar Drew was short, right? I think it was
short.
It did need to be any
longer. High because of how impactful it was.
But in fact, exactly. That's what I love about Lesnar matches. They can be short. They can be just quick spot. But you do remember that spot.
Yeah.
I think it's time to put a bow here. I think we've had a great talk. And what I was saying to RJ earlier, Pete, what he missed, I was just saying, I want to thank you as well just for making this an incredibly fun year, helping make this an incredibly fun year on the podcast. Unreal. We'll see how much longer this takes us, but thank you for making this highly entertaining, and again, thank you both for appearing on and essentially like what is the anniversary episode. I forgot to buy my confetti.
Happy birthday! Woo.
Yay! So thank you guys. Very fun topic, and as always, let's get to the closing. Really, no weird bye from Pete. All right.
No.
You made it to the end of the episode. You made it to the end. Again, thank you so much for just being part of all this. A year. Hopefully many more episodes to come. We're getting closer and closer to WrestleMania, and I'm just very fortunate to do this and very happy that there's something. I mean, it may not be the best thing out there. It can sometimes be silly and crazy, but it's such a fun platform, and I'm very fortunate that I'm very happy that I decided to bring this back. So again, happy anniversary! Thank you to all the guys who's been with us every step of the way. Next week, another episode comes your way as usual, and it's really all I can say for now. So right now, all I can say is just that. Thank you so much for watching. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. I'm Jose Taboada, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one.